Liebe Leute, ich bin immer noch ein bisschen fassungslos über die bisherigen Reaktionen von den linken Zeitungen und der Blutischen Arbeiterpartei über diesen bewussten Akt, nicht vor dem Bischof niederzuknien. Also ich weiß nicht so recht, wie das zusammenpasst, deren politische Haltung mit diesem religiösen Brimborium da. Na gut, wir gehen mal nach Hause und haben ein Diner mit der Familie. I arrived home from work, hung my jacket up and put my briefcase in the hall. I paused, awaiting my usual greeting from my wife and daughter. Diana was out at one of her after-school art classes, I remember, but where was Monica? From the living room I heard a muffled sob. I entered to find Monica sitting on the sofa, a letter in her hands and a look of despair on her face. What's wrong? Monica briefly rested her head on my shoulder, then handed me the letter. It's from the Department of Education. Frank's university exam results are in. How did he do? See for yourself. I looked at the page. Below Frank's name and address, his score was written. 435 points out of a total of 1000. At the bottom of the letter, the word failed was stamped in red. All those years of effort, all those private lessons, all down the drain. Does he know the results already? No, but he should be back from school soon. I just don't understand. Frank's a smart boy. Why would he sabotage himself? I heard a key turning in the front door. Frank stomped in and was about to go straight upstairs when he noticed us both in the living room. Mom, Dad, what's going on? Have a seat, Frank. He took a seat across from us and I handed him the letter. He started reading it. Oh shit. We are not angry at you. I need a moment. He went to the kitchen sink and washed his face. A moment later he came back. I never thought this would happen. I'm so sorry. Ich meine, es kann natürlich auch Sabotage sein, nicht wahr? Von den Konservativen im Bildungssystem. Es ist nicht das Ende der Welt, das auf jeden Fall nicht. Es ist mein Fehler, ich hätte da sein müssen, um dir zu helfen. Ja, schon. Andererseits ist er nun mal der Präsident. Ist auch verständlich, dass er nicht so viel Zeit hat. Andererseits, Familie, sollte darunter nicht so massiv leiden. 2 ist raus, 3 ist auch raus. Ist nicht das Ende der Welt. Ist nicht das Ende der Welt. Pretty close though, isn't it? Frank looked close to tears. Monica put her hand on his shoulder. It's going to be okay, but you really should have studied harder, Frank. I know. So what I'm supposed to do now? Military school? Aber du hast immer noch Optionen, du bist der Sohn des Präsidenten. Oder zur Militärschule. Also mit dem Wissen, dass das Militär erzkonservativ ist und den Erfahrungen, den Anton gemacht hat während seines Dienstes, werden wir wohl sagen, also wird 2 wohl rausfallen, werden wir wohl für Option 1 stimmen. Es gibt Optionen, ja. Monica surprised me with her enthusiasm. If Alfonso could get his dim-wit son into King's Hill University, I'm sure Household State would have room for a bright boy like Frank. Hä? Und für welche Universität war dann der Zulassungstest? I do have connections to the board. Aber das sind wieder so Gefälligkeiten. Das will ich nicht. So ein Gemauschelkram. Ah, ich wollte das Wort nicht benutzen. Entschuldigt. Das ist Korruption im Grunde. Yeah, I'm not going to take life lessons from Ewald Alfonso. Household state would be amazing. A bunch of my friends are going there. I could still come home to do my laundry. You could also study abroad. Ich werde da keinen Einfluss drauf nehmen. Ah, das ist ja schwierig. Also ich verwehre mich eigentlich sozusagen die Macht des Präsidenten und die Gefälligkeit von der Universität einzufordern, zu nutzen. Du musst damit leben, was du getan hast. Klingt ein bisschen sehr harsch. Andererseits stimmt's auch. Aber, also, natürlich will ich sozusagen ihn unterstützen, aber ja nicht auf diese Weise. You could study abroad. United People's University in United Cortana is free. It also has an excellent medical program. Ist natürlich gleich wieder ein politisches Statement. Zumindest wird es so gelesen. Aber warum nicht? Communism. I can't dig that. Not exactly how I was expecting to spend my student years, but anything is better than the military. This is the future of our boy, Anton. What should we do? Irgendwie bin ich mit all den Antworten unzufrieden. Also, wir können ihn ins Ausland schicken, nach Cortana. Er wird sofort wieder einen politischen Backlash haben, aber egal. Wir können die Zulassungskommission in der Household State University beeinflussen, auch wenn das da jetzt nicht mehr steht. Oder wir werden sein Leben nicht beeinflussen, er muss jetzt damit leben, dass er den Test nicht bestanden hat und zur Militärakademie gehen. Militär ist raus, habe ich vorher schon gesagt. Aber meiner Meinung nach sollte er selber entscheiden, wo er jetzt hingeht, was er jetzt macht. Dann können wir ihn dabei unterstützen, aber ist doch nicht, ich kann ihn doch jetzt nicht vorschreiben irgendwie. Gefällt mir nicht. Gefällt mir gar nicht. Household State University. Ja, es steht halt nicht da, aber das würde bedeuten, dass wir da Einfluss nehmen. Ja, dann ist die einzige Option ist dann Cortana. Thanks, Dad. Household State would have been my first choice. Not only yours. But it's your call to make after the way I messed up. Nein, also... Ja, irgendwie, also mit der Episode bin ich irgendwie sehr unzufrieden. Keins von beiden will ich ihm vorschreiben, aber Holzort war halt... Da hätte der Präsident Gefälligkeiten einfordern müssen. Das wollte ich auf jeden Fall nicht. What a day. Who's hungry for dinner? Monica disappeared to the kitchen, Frank to his room. I went to my office and began making some phone calls. Na, was war denn das für ein seltsamer Abend? Naja. Neue Schule wurde gebaut in Narbel. A new secondary school, 2-story building with 50 classrooms and state-of-the-art teaching equipment. The school was funded as part of the government initiative to improve rural access to Education. Supreme Court files Erzen vs. Sordland dissent. The Supreme Court has filed a 6-5 dissent and closed the Erzen vs. Sordland case. Chief Justice Hawker dismissed the concurrence of the Ministry of Justice, citing that the treatment of bluish people has been equal before the law. Further press releases were made criticizing the words of the Vice Minister of Justice. Bluish constitutional rights won't be in question for some time. Okay, gibt's da Berichte drüber? Ja, Justice failed once again. Das war ja aber auch zu erwarten, dass die alte Garde das blockieren würde. The solist constitutionalist justices are going as far as they can to bend the truth to hide the inequalities of our society. So sieht's aus. The Ashraf Anniversary. Watani Ashraf. Hero to some, enemy to others. He is for sure one of the most controversial figures to have ever lived in our country. As his anniversary is approaching, there is one question that is shared in everyone's minds. What will the administration do? Every year, people gather in Suzerain to hold a vigil in a solemn anniversary of his death. They light their candles in his memory and hold cultural festivals. What is different this year, however, are the claims that the bluish movement will be holding their largest rally yet in Suzerain during the anniversary. Perhaps it's time for the administration to let bygones be bygones and take a step back to display the unity of Sordland to the people. Also, wer ist denn Watani Ashraf? Was a bluish carpenter who was killed by Sordish soldiers during the protest against the construction of the Sol Dam. Aha. His death and the subsequent chaos that escalated between the protesters and the Sordish soldiers came to be known as the Isam incident. Okay, daran kann ich mich erinnern. He became a symbol of the bluish resistance movement. He was shot and killed by a soldier on the 10th day of the protest. Following his death, his name became a symbol of bluish rights. His death is mourned by the bluish Democrats and bluish separatists alike. The Freedom Front was initially called the Followers of Ashraf. And the court strikes down. Jawohl. Wie zu erwarten war. Wie zu erwarten war. Kabinettsitzung zu der gescheiterten Verfassungsreform. Ich bin mal gespannt, ob dann die Innenministerin uns jetzt hier unter Druck setzt. Lucian stood upright, holding a large folder of files under his arms. He bowed in acknowledgement. He looked exhausted. The cabinet has gathered in the White Room, sir. The Vice President will be opening the session soon. We can go in whenever you are ready. Anything you want to say before we go in? No, sir. Just keep your cool with the cabinet. I believe concerns will be raised in the meeting. Ja. Sollte ich mich auf irgendetwas gefasst machen? No, sir, I don't believe there's anything we didn't expect. However, our failure of the reforms had a huge impact on public opinion. Ja, wir besitzen doch jetzt das ganze Fernsehen, ist doch kein Problem. The party is quite discontent about the whole situation. They believe your presidency has destroyed the USP's prestige. Tja, wir müssen etwas tun, um unsere Fähigkeiten zu beweisen. Wir müssen uns die Sorgen anhören. Oder sie haben noch nicht mal den Mut, sich mir entgegenzustellen. If the party doesn't fall in line, we must consider radical changes. Ja, um radical changes geht's doch die ganze Zeit schon, oder? We need their trust. Ja, brauchen wir das überhaupt? Als unter der aktuellen Verfassung kann der Präsident die Minister doch einfach, MinisterInnen einfach selber benennen. Oder nicht? Ich meine, ja. Theoretisch könnten wir sie auskegeln. Let's go to the meeting and hear these concerns. Prove our capabilities. Haben wir das nicht schon zur Genüge getan? Einzige, was bisher gescheitert ist, mal abgesehen von der wirtschaftlichen Lage, ist die gescheiterte Abstimmung. Ja, vielleicht können wir sie irgendwie ermuntern oder so. Schauen wir mal. Of course, let's discuss that in the meeting. He gestured at the door with the files he held. I think we should go, sir. Mr. Vice President must have started this session already. Lucian held the door for me and we both left the office for the White Room. When we entered the room, Peter was speaking to the cabinet members who were already seated around the table. As soon as they noticed me, they all stood up. Please have a seat. Peter turned towards me. Everybody expected him... Was? Everybody except him, okay, meine Konzentration verlässt mich so langsam, took their seats. He stood right next to my chair in the middle. And here's our president. He held out my chair for me to sit down and smiled. Please. I sat down. What's on our agenda? Well, we'll be discussing our current status and planning the remainder of our term. Peter walked to his seat but didn't sit down. He took a look at the ministers. Now that Mr. President is here, we can begin the meeting. I know that some of you have had your concerns about our style of governance so far. There will be a time to speak up about these in the meeting today. But I must also thank you all for your hard work so far. We are very lucky to have a team like this. All of you have been invaluable to this administration. Lileas grimaced at this remarks. Having said that, now we have reached a critical point of our term. We are nearing the end. We have worked long and hard, but we couldn't reform the Swedish constitution. Our organization was flawed. Our party was not united. The very parliament we control has denied us the reforms. Lucian and I have begun investigating who let us down at the vote when we needed them the most. Gloria and the conservative wing of the party didn't back us up. Yeah. Some party centrists have opposed us due to our decision to veto the campaign finance bill. Aha. Casaro Kibben and the National Front, members of parliament, didn't like the proposal and voted against it. Keine Überraschung. The Lothar group led a massive lobbying effort against us in the assembly, which caused us to lose many votes. He paused and looked around the room. But the past is past. We must now look towards our future. We are investigating and analyzing our faults. We will be taking measures accordingly. He glanced at both Lucian and me. Our party still remains divided. In order to look at the future, we may need to make some changes. On the other hand, the opposition is exploiting our failure to reform. The latest polls show a steep increase in the opposition's support. So let's start the meeting with a brief look at some reports. He fumbled with the stack of papers in front of him. With the latest developments, we have seen an enormous decrease in our popularity. Jawohl. The public opinion about our party is at an all-time low. He took out a piece of paper from the stack and inspected it. A major concern of the people is the state of our economy. Yeah, we are slowly slipping into a depression. This will have dire consequences for our administration. We mustn't lose hope and give it our best. Sordland needs us more than ever. Peter turned to me. I give the word to the president now. He sat down. Klatschen, nee. Thank you, Peter. Everyone's eyes were focused on me. erstmal Berichte aus den Ministerien. Peter gestured at Simon and he immediately stood up. Mr. President, dear colleagues, Mr. Vice President was pretty on point with his summary of the current economic status. He also used the word depression. He couldn't have been more correct. Our GDP has shrank by 15% last year. This downward trend has broken our economy over the last years. If we cannot contain this in time, we will end our term in the truest of sense of the word in a depression. However, this has not yet reflected well with our debt situation. Our total national debt has increased about 85 billion Sordlands this year. If we maintain such a deficit over the next years, we will face a massive debt crisis which could crash the economy. The Assembly is working on introducing new tax bills which will generate more revenue for the government. These efforts will depend on the government deficit situation. On the other hand, unemployment has seen no positive changes. There has been an increase in joblessness. It is now at 22%. We need immediate measures to tackle this. Hundreds of thousands lost their job. He paused for a moment. Stay silent. I waited for him to speak. Well, one major concern is our nationalization decision. Our expenses have increased. And it did not send a very positive signal to the global and local market. I believe this will have negative effects on our growth. And unfortunately, the benefits from our first infrastructure project don't look set to offset that loss. But apart from all that, I'll finish with an update on our latest project. The manager reported that everything is going well and very fast with the Sana agricultural zone. I'll keep it brief for the sake of the whole meeting and end my report on that note. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Gus stood up as soon as Simon sat down. I will also keep it very brief, Mr. President. Our investments in Bergia have greatly increased our agricultural capacity. The investments also led to a decrease in homelessness and unemployment in rural Bergia. With the completion of the Sana agricultural zone, we expect to see Bergia as a new economic powerhouse. That would be all for me. That was it? Yes, Mr. President, we can have a separate meeting to take a deep look at the numbers of the ministry if you like. Ja, das werden wir tun. Next up was Pascal. Mr. President, there are currently no major problems within the Ministry of Health. We are currently investigating some reports of a small polio outbreak around a village called Heimir. I believe we can get into more details in our policy meeting. Thank you, Mr. Bennewall. Joseph stepped up. The Ministry of Defense has a very important report regarding our situation with Rumberg. The investigations showed that Rumberg was in fact weaponizing rebels against our state. We have learned that they have been aiding the Bludish rebels in Welen too. Our military must stand ready for any possible attack coming from Rumberg. We have gathered intelligence regarding their military research and production. They are building a massive army. Our military has no means to stand against such a superior force if we do not deploy new tactics. We cannot let them threaten us like that. Ja, jetzt ist er schon mal von Investitionen zu New Tactics gewechselt. Das ist schon mal gut zu hören. Ich meine, die Frage ist, was bedeutet das? Machen Sie die nötigen Vorbereitungen. Wir müssen von dem wenigen, was wir haben, auch aufgrund der Kürzung natürlich, das Beste machen. Das stimmt natürlich. Also klar, wir brauchen... Ja, schon. Also eine Reform... Auch auf der taktischen Ebene wäre sicherlich sinnvoll. Die Frage ist, was meint er mit Tactics? Wir sollten nicht eskalieren. Das stimmt natürlich auch. Let's refrain from sending them a response. Beides? Kann ich nicht beides zusammen haben? Die Frage ist, können wir es einfach aussitzen halt, ne? Und riskieren, dass wir keine taktischen Reformen durchführen. Let's refrain. Of course, sir. David stood up. Mr. President, Perla and Helm have agreed to begin deal negotiations. We will be moving on with that very soon. The region is very unstable. With the incidents at Romberg, Velen and Helgeland, we must be very cautious. We can talk in more detail at our foreign policy meeting. Thank you. Chiara was next. Our ministry is working day and night to improve our education system and increase its accessibility. We have since built about 100 new schools and improved accessibility. We have accomplished a lot with our new curriculum. Our reforms will be greatly improving our output as a society. Lilea stood up. Mr. President, there's an important report from our intelligence officers. We have disrupted an illegal arms deal that was taking place inside our borders. There seems to be several anti-government groups organizing against large-scale attacks. Bitte was? Nochmal. There seems to be several anti-government groups organizing against large-scale attacks. Durch wen? Durch die Regierung oder? Anti-government groups organizing against large-scale attacks. Durch die, ja, weiß ich nicht, durch die Regierung. We might need to implement some new measures. We will provide you with a more detailed report at a later date. One last thing. I would like to transfer the gendarmerie under the Ministry of Interior to improve the internal security efforts. Was soll ich davon halten? Also die Gendarmerie ist eine paramilitärische ländliche Polizeiformation, die dem Militär unterstellt ist, meines Wissens nach. Ja, subordinated to the Ministry of Defense. Und Lileas, die Innenministerin, schlägt jetzt vor, sie dem Innenministerium zu unterstellen. Ich meine, das würde natürlich, wenn wir jetzt an, wobei Lileas ist selber Konservative, würde dem Militär natürlich ein bisschen Machtpotenzial wegnehmen, falls wir immer noch sozusagen vor dem Hintergrund, dass möglicherweise ein Putsch irgendwann noch ins Haus stehen könnte. Davon habe ich noch nichts gehört. I'm still working on the proposal and have legal backing for it. I was going to mention it later. The Ministry of Defense shouldn't be meddling with internal security affairs. Das stimmt natürlich. We had several incidents where they were too violent too quickly, and it stems from military officers giving reckless orders. Tja, möglicherweise wird das notwendig werden. It will eventually cause a problem between our forces. There are already miscommunications. Oh, das war wohl auf die Recklessness bezogen. Das wollte ich natürlich nicht sagen. Will you transfer the gendarmerie to the interior? Joseph would be furious. I will support you. Also ich bin eigentlich schon dafür, natürlich das Militär aus inneren Angelegenheiten rauszuhalten, sofern das in Sordland überhaupt möglich ist. Aber tja, ich meine, Josef hat sich jetzt auch mit den Kürzungen zurechtgefunden. Der wird sich auch damit zurechtfinden, dass wir ihm die Gendarmerie wegnehmen. Excellent. Lilea smiled faintly. Do you have anything to share, Mrs. Morganar? Nia shook her head. Not at the moment. You're already well aware of what's going on. I will update you on our next steps in the judiciary in another meeting. Ja, es tut mir immer noch so leid, dass das mit der Antikorruptionseinheit nicht funktioniert hat. Ich wusste das nicht. Ich wollte es doch auch. Danke. Next I want to talk about our new focus and some of my plans forward. So, was haben wir denn hier? Es ist an der Zeit, unsere Partei als Ganzes zu verändern. Oh, wir haben ein Manifest. Wusste ich gar nicht. War wahrscheinlich Regierungserklärung oder so. Wir müssen eine Wahlkampagne einleiten. Jetzt schon. Oder die Wirtschaft ist sehr besorgniserregend. Wir müssen jetzt sehr schnell wirtschaftliche Entwicklung erreichen. Alles wichtig. Aber was ist am wichtigsten? Können wir den Zusammenbruch der Wirtschaft riskieren, sage ich mal? Also, oder können wir riskieren, jetzt keine Maßnahmen, keine zusätzlichen Maßnahmen zu ergreifen und uns auf die Partei konzentrieren? Weil die Partei zu reformieren, die Partei ist das, was die Reformen verhindert hat, ja. Wir müssen die Partei vom Sozialismus befreien, sag ich mal. Aber Wirtschaft ist auch super wichtig gerade. Wobei sich das sicherlich entspannen wird, wenn wir Handelsbeziehungen mit Weichsland will ich immer sagen. Wie heißen sie gleich? Doch, Weichsland. Mit Weichsland und eventuell sogar gleichzeitig mit Lesbia aufnehmen. Frage ist, wie schnell wird das möglich sein? Also, ja, ich glaube, ich werde auf die Partei gehen. The cabinet looked uneasy. Lilea spoke with a concerned look in her eyes. I'm sorry. It's time the USP shifts away from Solism. I see, and the party leadership will agree with that? You see, I'm the current chairman. Do you not agree? You learn about my thoughts if you bring your suggestions to the leadership. That was the extent of my comments. We can move on. Thank you. I turn to the others. If there are no comments, let's move on with the meeting. I believe that is everything. Everybody packed up and left the white room. I went back to my office. Na, wird die Regierung jetzt noch platzen? The last 2.5 years had gone by so fast. 2,5 Jahre schon. Leute. Na gut, bevor wir uns die ganzen Berichte anschauen, werde ich mal die Aufnahme beenden. Wir sehen uns in der nächsten Folge wieder. Bis dahin wünsche ich euch wie immer alles Gute und bis dann. Euer Jan.